Hello, welcome back to Al Talks. Today I'm going to talk about. Put the curtain down more. Anyway, today on today's podcast, a couple of things written down in my notes that I want to talk to you about. The first thing I want to talk about is obviously me doing Stitch's new material night last week. It went well. I yeah, like I'm just looking at what I'd written out for that set. It was like, a 5 minute set, and I'm really glad how it went down because the jokes that I'm working on are really working, especially the one I have about that I usually start off with as kind of a crowd bit. So yeah, I was really happy. Other than just kind of ran out of time towards the end, telling a joke that I didn't plan on telling actually, but other than that, it went fine. Like, I'm really happy with the set that I did at Stitches. Um, the night, the room that night was kind of strange because for the first half of the show, it was a bit, wasn't that much crowd participation. It was a bit, I don't know, not a lot of laughs. But in the second half after the break, yeah, things really kicked off. I mean, a lot more people started showing up, and it was kind of got rowdy. Like, I mean, these group of students came in. This guy Timmy, and and the MC was like, "Oh, Timmy, um, who you here with? These your friends?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know." And then was like, "What do you mean you don't know their names?" So his friends started saying their names out, and he's like, "Timmy, if they're your friends, you should know their names." So it was quite a good night. Um, Very funny comedians performed that night. I mean, like I said, it's just good old night all around. And then, I was talking to one of the comedians that performed that night, Jess Martinez. Um, I've only seen her clips of her doing stand up on Instagram and stuff, so it's the first time I actually met her in real life. And I said that to her, and she says, she says it's really funny because a lot of us kind of, she has that as well, that a lot of us exist online. It's going to be a while before we get to meet each other and stuff like that, and networking and all that crack. But it was, it was really good. Yeah, it was a good night. Because I was really looking forward to doing the good crack open mic down in Bray, and then doing the Stitches new material night. The unfortunate thing is I have nothing else booked for the rest of the year, so I'm gonna have to go and talk to bookers and see if I can get a few gigs going. But won't probably will be in about 2 3 weeks time to go back and do comedy because at the moment life's getting a bit. I need to do a couple of things here and there and stuff like that. So I'm gonna give it a breather for a bit, but always just kind of let myself regain some strength, right? Not strength, but right in the meantime, because I have a lot of material that I want to write down and try out at open mics and stuff like that in the upcoming future. But what I really want to talk about is I was listening to Joey's podcast, Joey Diaz's podcast, Uncle Joey's Joint. Uncle Joey, yeah, that's what it's called because he had another one called Church What's Happening Now, and he was talking about how going back to his open mic days, he said those were the best days that he had in comedy. Because that he says he hates it now that when he goes to a show there's 400 or 500 people, they're all screaming his name. He goes, for him that wasn't entertaining because the open mics, the ones he used to do anyway, were crazy and stuff. Like he said, he used to go to an poetry open mic, and it was supposed to be for poets. So he'd come on stage and he'd pretend to be a poet, and then he'd start telling material and stuff like, and because it kind of brings me back to an experience I had. There's an open mic called Smithfield's Creatives. Now it's a general open mic. It's for poets, musicians, storytellers, stuff like that, and a lot of my comedian friends do it. And we were talking about before. It's like, oh, have you had any experience with that? It's like, well, actually, I do, because the Nuts open mic is it's an open mic, but I mean, it's mainly musicians who go down and do it. And when I used to do it, I haven't done it now in a while, but be hoping to get back into it. It was just because I've had experience with it. Because leading up to the show, um, when I was doing the whole lunatics in my town, like I was doing a lot. I realize my hair is a big mess, but what can you do? Like I was doing an awful lot of the open mics and not to prepare for it and stuff. And it didn't go without hiccups and stuff. I mean, there was nice. There was one night in particular. There was this dude who was come back from the bathroom, and just as he was passing me, he turned to me, started having a conversation. I completely blew the lid. I was like, "Are you for fucking real?" I go, I'm trying to do. I go, I got a show in a couple of weeks ago. This is the preparation for it. I'm like, you go in this corner right there. Sit down and shut the fuck up right now. And it was a crazy wild night. It was actually the first time my friend see me do stand up. We were talking afterwards, and he goes, "Okay." I goes, I'm not going to talk to you about the material, but he said, "What you did tonight, tell that man, shut up, fuck up, and sit down in the corner." He said, he goes, "I was proper comedian stuff." He goes, because you do your thing, and because I said to you, man, I was like, look, this is an open mic. You're more than welcome to come up and try if you want, but if not, like, don't fucking disturb the performers. So I definitely have experienced that. It was just kind of nice for Joey to talk about that today, but you know, because the guy who helps him produce the podcast, Mike, he's a musician. He does open mics and stuff like that as well. But like I mean, I'm not in clubs yet. Well, apart from Stitches, but I'm kind of slowly getting there, slowly trying. But I'm still in the open mic phase a bit. But I'm trying to you know get out there. But it was a nice conversation to hear. Him talking about how that was his favorite time doing comedy because most of the time you really don't know what's actually going on. It can be a bit like that dude who I went off on because he was being a fucking dick. But it's I mean it's anybody's choice of stuff or whatever goes down. And the thing about those music open mics, like when I was doing the nuts, sometimes you get in like when Brian was doing it, he would introduce me, and then I'd have to introduce myself. There isn't. It's not like a comedy club where the MC would introduce you and stuff like that. Well, Brian would, but it's just because it was a music open mic. It was kind of you know different vibes and stuff like that. But it's nevertheless it's still a good experience. So when my friend asked me, he's like, "Oh, you have experience with that?" It's like, "Oh, you have no idea." So I told him that story that I just said now and stuff like that. So it's definitely fun, and it's a bit of crack. That's all it is, really. Just going out and doing the spots and stuff. It's I'm glad how the new material is working out so far because every time I go up, I try and do new stuff. Like I have them written down in little what is it? These little piece of paper, what I plan to do and stuff. I probably have a million of these in the future, but I just that's all I want to talk about today. I'm going to once again promote these podcast stickers. I would appreciate it if you bought one. They're $2.50 each, including postage and shipping. And I mean that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Like I said, I'm gonna do a couple of things and not do comedy for a while because I just have a few things in my plate that I want to get done before I go back out. But Most likely, to go. Like I said, I'm hoping to go over to Sligo and Cork, do comedy there, and then after that, actually, I want to go down and do that open music open mic in Smithfields, the Smithfield Creators, because it's just gonna be just a bit of entertainment. Kind of bring back to my old roots. And beyond that, I mean, I'm just gonna keep writing jokes. I have a lot of jokes, new jokes I want to write and try out because I'm happy with the ones I've been doing so far. Just, they're working how I want them and stuff like that. So that is that. But anyway, that's this week's podcast. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoy my content, and I will see you all next week. Goodbye.